Hey yo, can y'all hear the angels singing? Phil Jackson has finally been fired from the New York Knicks. His reign of terror is finally over. His arrogance and stupidity has been holding his franchise back since the second he got here. All he's been doing, he's been paid $60 million and he's turned this roster up and down 3 times looking for the perfect set of triangle players. But at the end of the day, that triangle shit don't fly in 2017. Now, I'm not even saying that the triangle does not have its place in today's NBA. Even some teams use it. But at the end of the day, it should not be a focal point of any team anymore. This is a league dominated by the pick and roll and 3-point shooting. And ever since Phil got here, we went away from where the league started going and what made the Knicks so successful in our 54-win season 4 years ago. Not to mention, Phil actually discouraged Kristaps Porzingis from shooting threes because he called it a cheap way to score. Now imagine saying that in 2017. I'll be the first to admit that when Phil initially signed in New York, I thought he would shift into a respectable franchise and have us in position to be playoff contenders for years to come. But he really only took the job for the money. James Dolan kept throwing money until Phil just couldn't say no anymore. But in the same breath, we actually rejoiced when Dolan stepped in and did something that needed to be done. In hindsight, I think it's actually funny that the one person that we asked to stay out of everything basketball related is the one that saved us from the Great Triangle Depression. Sometimes we gotta be careful what we ask for. Going back to Phil, we all knew what he wanted to do. We all knew what his agenda was these past 5 or 6 months. He's been trying to troll Carmelo Anthony and then waiving his no trade clause and accepting the trade out of New York. Now, I don't have a problem with Phil expressing to Melo that he needs to be moved to a contender. The Knicks are just not ready to win right now, but it's the way he did it. Publicly criticizing him, having his best friends write hit pieces about him all season, just trying to shame him out of New York, which is the worst thing you could possibly do for 2 reasons. Every time Phil opened up his mouth to throw Melo under the bus, he actually made Melo a sympathetic figure. People started feeling bad for him, and by doing that, Phil outed himself as the real villain. People stopped looking at the star and started looking at the guy that was putting the pieces around the star. For the majority of the time that Phil been here, the target was never on him, and Melo being a star player, he just had to take the brunt of the blame because that's what he did. He stood quiet, he never complained, he never blamed it on anybody, he never threw his teammates under the bus, he just took it in stride. And in saying all that, Phil absolutely destroyed Melo's trade value. What team would want to give you significant pieces for a guy that you desperately want off your team? That makes no sense. But on top of all of that, not only is Phil shitting on Melo, he actually put Porzingis on the trading block because he skipped an exit interview. Now I knew Phil was just bluffing. I knew Porzingis wasn't going anywhere unless we got a ridiculous offer. It's the fact Phil added to an already toxic environment and free agents are looking at us and we don't even look close to appealing. But as soon as he resigned, we've been getting interest from free agents. I don't think that's a coincidence. But my biggest issue with Phil Jackson has always been accountability. He's a guy that built the teams. He's a guy that made those stupid ass trades. He's a guy that signed Joakim Noah to that ridiculous contract that we still on the hook for 3 years for. And most of all, he hired them coaches, especially Jeff Hornacek, who has absolutely no idea what the triangle is. He has no idea how to coach it. But Phil Jackson berates the team and the star for not being able to execute his vision. But although I'm very critical of how he ran the Knicks these past 3 years, he did do some good. He had the common sense to not trade our draft picks, and we got a couple good building blocks for the future. So at the end of the day, I have to give him some credit for that. But it is a little strange that they didn't fire him before the draft and we selected Frank Ntilikina. Now I like Frank Ntilikina. I think he has a lot of potential, especially defensively. But I liked Malik Monk a lot coming out of Kentucky. I would have liked him. But Knicks fans will always get what they want. Anyways, that's all I got to say. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you feel about Phil Jackson. I'm out. Peace.